Hello everyone, this is YLAM here. In today's Fuji Friday, I got some news bits to discuss. Not a whole lot of news, but there are plenty of things to talk about. First amongst which is that we are getting kind of a date for the 16 to 80 millimeter f4. This is kind of like the 24 to 105 that almost all camera systems have, and with a fixed f-stop of f4, it's going to be really good for video purposes as well. I'm looking forward to actually trying out that lens, but it should be coming out fall of 2019, so third, fourth quarter, hopefully. Now, I am expecting the lens to be quite expensive when it first comes out, considering that the 18 to 135, which is probably the closest lens that it's competing with, MSRP is about $900. I would expect the f4 lens to be somewhere around there, probably slightly higher. So we're talking about a $1,000 lens, which is going to be pretty expensive, but it's going to be a very good travel lens, an all-in-one lens. Still going to be looking forward to really using that. The 18 to 135, it is a good all-in-one lens, but a lot of people have discussed that it's a bit soft and it's not up to the quality standards as some of the other lenses. So we're really looking forward to the 16 to 180 to be a much higher quality lens, but we're probably going to have to pay for it. If I do own this lens, I'm probably going to be selling off my 18 to 135 in order to be able to afford that lens. The next item to talk about is about the XT30. Over on the Fuji guys channel, they did actually do a video about the top features of it. I'll put the links below. But I did learn a few things about the XT30 and also some features that are in the XT3 that I didn't really know about. So it's actually worth watching through the entire video. It is quite long, but you might learn a few things that you haven't actually seen before that's probably already in the XT3 because they are very similar cameras. A couple of specs that they did talk about is that the external output of the HDMI port is going to be 10-bit 422. So for anybody who's doing high-end cinematography or for videos, the 422 10-bit will definitely take care of you. You're just going to need an external recorder, which is something you're going to need anyways because the XT30, the 4K recording is going to be a 10-minute limit, and that's really short. And I'm kind of curious to see if there's going to be any overheating issues with the XT30. It's very prevalent in the XT20. I'm really hoping that the new CPU is going to be more efficient and we won't be seeing any overheating issues. One quick tip that I do want to talk about is that anytime I use any of the Fuji cameras, especially on a tripod, if I don't have to use the back screen, what I generally like to do is I actually like to flip this downward like this. This way that the back plate of the actual camera, because it does get hot back here, has a place to actually to dissipate heat to some air, which is really important. Another thing that was confirmed is that the max bit rate is going to be at 200 megabytes per second. This is still very good considering that the SD card slot is a lower grade than what you get on the XT3, but at 200 megabytes, that's still plenty for almost anybody who's out there producing videos. On the photo side, I can confirm that if you actually put it in boost mode, the EVF, the eye cup, does actually refresh at 100 frames per second. So if you're one of these people that want to take a lot of pictures or is trying to capture something moving really fast, the EVF will take care of you. But again, it's also very small, so it might be a little bit more difficult to use. Also, for the most part, the eye cup on the XT30, they usually use a hard plastic, which isn't very comfortable, so just keep that in mind. The last thing to talk about is that if you switch it over to the electronic shutter, you do get 20 frames per second without actually having to crop into your image. So it is very capable, but one thing that we don't know is how big the buffer size is going to be. So even if it can shoot at 20 frames per second, we don't really know how long it can actually keep up before it buffers out, and also how quickly you can transfer it to your SD card. The last thing I do want to talk about is Capture One. I know a lot of people like Capture One over Lightroom. I personally have always been using Lightroom, mostly because I use a lot of the Adobe products, and it's really hard to get away from Adobe once you use the suite of Adobe products. I am interested in actually trying Capture One. I just want your take, the audience, the community. Do you care about Capture One? Is that something that you like using? Please give me some feedback on that because I am thinking about switching over. Is it something that you would like to see videos on? Keep in mind, I do have a lot of knowledge of Lightroom, but I have no knowledge of Capture One. So is that something that you would want to see? I personally want to learn it just because there's been so many people moving over to Capture One. I feel like it's something that's at least worthwhile looking into just to see if there's actually a difference in terms of image processing. Please let me know what you think about that, because that is something that's super interesting to me right now. I am going to do a few more basic tutorials about Lightroom on how I process certain things, at least at the very beginning, and I might want to do that with Capture One as well once I kind of learn my workflow and the process that I want to use Capture One in. But again, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video.